All right, everyone, this is Justin from East West Healing. Today I want to talk about the 3 reasons why I don't like grains. But there always is a but, and that but will be at the beginning or the end, actually, of the video. But before we jump in, as always, please like this video. Please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification button. So every single Wednesday, when we put out a video, you get notified. Let's jump in. All right, so, I don't like to say the bad, like this is bad, right? Because for us, it's all about finding the balance point, and that's where the but's gonna come in at the end. So 3 reasons why I don't like grains. Well, the first is the iron fortification process, right? 1920s, it was introduced because everyone was anemic, we need iron, they put in iron filings, and before you know it, everyone is being saturated, because here's the thing that no one realizes. The body has no way of eliminating iron from the body. Unless your leg falls off and you just lose a ton of blood, unless you go donate blood, or unless you have a cycle and you're female every single month, but it's only so much, right? You're only getting rid of so much. The human body has no way of getting rid of iron. So if you're ingesting it, it can only build up. But what we also don't know is that, I've talked about this before in many videos, is the body has its own recycling system. It can recycle up to 24 milligrams a day, reuse up to 24 milligrams a day. Doesn't mean we need 24 milligrams a day. We actually don't need that much to keep feeding the recycling system. That is for eating and living in a way to support the recycling system itself, right? So this is the first reason why I'm not a fan of, let's say, processed grains, right? Because this is inflammatory, right? We can think of it like this, because copper has an intimate relationship with iron. When copper goes up, iron is regulated, right? Because it plays a big role. It's not like just take copper and you regulate iron, but I'm just giving you an example. But if iron goes up, copper drops. Now we can't produce energy. Now we can't produce antioxidants. Now we can't put out the little fires. We can't reduce inflammation. We create more cytokines, more interleukins, more inflammation, more calcification, right? That little fire to roast some marshmallows is now 500,000 acres. So that is the reason number 1. Second is gluten, right? It's a protein, it's a prolamine. There's others, but gluten always gets a bad rap. But it's only found in wheat. People are like, I can't have barley because of gluten. Well, there's no gluten in barley, right? There's other prolamines, but here's the thing. It's a big particle that we have a hard time digesting, right? But the question is this, and this brings me to the 3rd point, and we can go to the 2nd point too, is it the gluten or is the iron fortification, right? Or is it the combination of both, right? But on the other end of it, in 2007, glyphosate was introduced to wheat, right? So the problem with glyphosate is it completely destroys all the bifidobacteria in your gut, which is very common in celiac. At the same time, it destroys a lot of digestive enzymes like lipase, trypsin, and pepsin. So now we can't break down our food, right? The gut wall kind of breaks down. Food particles slip into the system. We get an inflammatory response, an autoimmune response, right? Which can create an autoimmune disease. At the same time, we can't break down gluten, which can create an autoimmune disease, which celiac is, as well. There are other issues. So of course, we're really talking about processed grains that have iron in them, processed grains that have, that contain gluten in itself, right? Because it's not something that's added. Well, if you get like teriyaki chicken with the gooey sauce, that gooey is gluten, it's glue, but typically it's a wheat byproduct. As well as glyphosate, right? Which is basically a pesticide. So those are the 3 reasons. But, if you're eating, let's say, a clean grain, it's very different. We're just talking about the processed type. This is why I don't like grains. But here's the thing. It's always about finding what works for you. I'm not saying don't eat rice. I'm not saying don't eat quinoa. I'm not saying don't eat corn chips or don't eat corn tortillas, right? But what I'm saying this is, first, always find the balance point. Typically what I recommend my clients, because most people are hyperglycemic, they're hyperinsulinic because they're chronically stressed, all those lysis systems are running wild and they shouldn't be, glycolysis, glycogenolysis, proteolysis, lipolysis, right? They shouldn't be up all the time. So we have hyperglycemia, hyperinsulinemia. So grains can just fuel that fire. We don't want to do that. So we always tell people no more than 1 to 2 times a day. Right? If someone's like eating grains 5 times a day, 5 times a week, then I'll say try to do it no more than 2 times a day, right? If someone's eating them maybe a few times a week and I'm noticing it does not working for them, I'm saying no more than one time a day, right? But it doesn't mean you have to have it 1-2 times a day. It's just no more than that. The other thing is I don't like it to see it meals back to back. It's just a double whammy, right? So maybe you have a meal, breakfast with eggs and a corn tortilla and like a little bit of fruit. Well, you don't want to have grains in the next meal, right? But at the same time, it's always focusing on, does it work for you? How is it creating stability? Am I noticing energy stability or energy crashes? Am I noticing digestive issues? The list goes on. Because it's not like this is good or bad. It's, is it working for me right now in my healing process, right? So that's rule number one. Second is always eat gluten-free. We say that hands down, always eat non-GMO, right? We don't want that glyphosate, and don't eat processed grains, right? But it's the balance point. You know, I mean, do I? No. But at the same time, there might be some people with a different definition of health, and they eat great 80% of the time, but they want to be able to go out to get a hamburger and not give a crap. And that's okay, right? It is okay, because if you're craving health 80 to 90% of the time, and you have that burger maybe once a month, and it's like just pure junk, it really shouldn't affect you that much. Of course, you're going to feel some consequences, but if it really pushes your speedometer back to zero, then how you're creating health isn't really allowing you to build your metabolic reserve. So remember, just use clean grains, gluten-free, non-processed, and you're good. But the main point is make sure you pay attention to if they work for you. As always, thanks for tuning in. I'm out. Peace.